It's day one of the AGOA Forum taking place today and over the next 3 days. It's in its 20th year and aims to expand and deepen the trade and investment relationship between the US and Sub-Saharan Africa. The 3-day summit will be held in Johannesburg under the theme Partnering to Build a Resilient, Sustainable and Inclusive AGOA to Support Economic Development, Industrialization and Quality Job Creation. So what can we expect during these talks, and what are some of the issues that feed into what will be taking place over the next 3 days? Let's bring in Dr. Arno van Niekerk, pardon me. Dr. Arno van Niekerk is a senior lecturer of economics at the University of the Free State. It's great to have you on the program, Doc. Thanks very much indeed for coming on. A tense relationship, right, between South Africa and the US on a whole range of geopolitical issues. However you see it, though, and there are a number of analysts having different viewpoints on the importance of AGOA, it is vital to our economy here at home, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely, Michelle. It's critical, especially in light of the BRICS summit that took place in August, also in Johannesburg. So I think the South Africa is right in the middle of the interest between East and West, specifically China and the US. And this agreement has been going from the year 2000. So it's really significant with AGOA and the US. And in next year, it's going to come into review for decisions about extending it. So this summit is vital for us to build relations with the US and keep having the preferential trade agreements that we currently have, and also the foreign direct investment that come as a result of this.
Yeah, important for our economy here in South Africa, but also crucial for the US, arguably, right? We're talking about AGOA being important insofar as trade relations between the US and Sub-Saharan Africa. And obviously South Africa's positionality is important in that respect.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, South Africa is a leading country in this among the African countries. But, Africa does provide a lot of benefits to the US in that regard as well, because of the cost of imports being much less for the US. And, South Africa is a strong source of imports for them. And we also invest a lot, quite a lot of investment from South Africa specifically and other Sub-Saharan African countries as well to the US. So for them, that it is something actually they don't want to lose. In fact, one of the senators recently made a suggestion that the agreement be extended for another 20 years, which can really see and indicate their willingness to extend ties with Africa and specifically South Africa as a result of the competition from China. But it's in that sense it's positive. So, but we are right in the middle of a tense situation because our ties with the East is also growing. I mean, China is our main export partner. The US is our second largest trading partner. So, we'll have to balance these interests very well, especially in light of the global tensions in Ukraine and the Middle East.
Right.
So it's vital for South Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's not forget, Dr. van Niekerk, that we're hosting AGOA. We also, not too long ago, hosted the BRICS Summit right here on South African soil, right? And one of the big decisions made there was the expansion of the group. How would the US have viewed that?
Yes, absolutely. That is almost like it's viewed as almost like a threat by the US. In a sense that because some of the countries being included are direct, opponents of the US, countries like Iran and others, and there's also, I think the major issue is also around the petrodollar system. We're already looking at Russia and China collaborating on trying to move away from the petrodollar system where oil are sold in dollars around the world and trying to create an alternative system. And there's already talks of a BRICS currency where the weighted average of the different BRICS currencies are going to be used as an alternative to the US dollar as a reserve currency. So I think these things have serious implications for the U.S. economy because, if the dollar's value fall, immediately inflation goes up in the U.S. and that after, all the couple of years of economic trauma, it's something the U.S. cannot afford. So this summit is what it all boils down to, and building stronger ties with African countries.
Yeah. It really does sound like South Africa is going to be walking a tightrope over the next 3 days, right? Because it also has to protect the relationship between its BRICS partners, China and Russia, but also protect its relationship with the U.S. What are some of the key issues, Dr. van Niekerk, that we can sort of give a little insofar as protecting all of those interests? And sometimes it seems like opposing interests.
Yeah, it does. And, you don't want to be the grass being trampled by big elephants here. So South Africa actually is in a very strategic position, but we can lose that if we lose the trust. And I think the key thing for the negotiations for the next 2 days, starting today until Saturday, where the U.S. and 35 other Sub-Saharan African countries come together, and South Africa's role in this is really to build trust with the U.S. We've seen some of the ambassadors flying into South Africa. We've had some of ours going there, to try and build ties. So it's still important to the government, and we'll have to show it. Yeah. And remember, when this AGOA summit happens, it's not just a states representative, it's also representatives from the private sector in the different countries, NGOs. So you'll have strong economic interests on the table. And, in terms of our textile industry, our agricultural industry, manufacturing industry, we get tremendous benefits from the U.S., in terms of duty-free trade, quota-free trade, that we cannot afford to lose. So we actually have more to lose than them, but we'll have to come up with the goods at the negotiation table. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, these negotiations will be taking place at, one might say quite a high level, but the small businesses in particular that depend on AGOA will be keeping a close eye and will be hoping that we can smooth things over and continue on the trajectory. Certainly their survival will depend on that.
Yes. Absolutely. And because we are desperate for generating economic growth, I mean, we just saw yesterday with the medium-term budget that already the budget deficit is increasing to 4.9%. So the only way is to generate economic growth and also job creation, economic development. And many of these businesses, multinational companies, at the moment they create about 150,000 jobs in South Africa, and that number needs to be expanded, especially if we look at the youth unemployment rate. So especially in those sense, we cannot afford to lose these ties. So, we will definitely need to put the bargaining power, in place for us to also offer the U.S. more than we currently have. And I think it's a positive situation, but it can quickly turn negative if we don't, strengthen the trust and the ties.
Important discussions taking place over the next 3 days. Dr. Arno van Niekerk, let me thank you for your time this morning, Senior Lecturer in Economics, the University of the Free State. And of course,